Sure. Commissioner Banak, Chair Van Ness, Commissioner Chebian, Commissioner Bottenberg, Commissioner Gunno, and Commissioner Martin.
And
Oh, I'm so sorry. And Commissioner Heilman, I beg your pardon. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, Sam, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, and with justice.
Thank you. Okay, next up is approval of the agenda. Okay, moved and seconded on the agenda. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, we have our agenda approved. Next is approval of the minutes of the June 14th meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 14th meeting.
Thank you.
And second.
Moved and seconded. Yes, go ahead. Say that again. Oh, I see. Mary and Vara on the minutes at the top. The commissioners present, there's no number next to them. You see that, Rita? We can, yeah, we'll have that fixed. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Chair, can I quickly, sorry, I beg your pardon. When anybody speaks, if we can speak to the microphone, because
Okay.
that's also going to be online as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, there's only one there.
Okay.
Okay. All right, public comment. Mike,
Chair, I do not see anybody online or in, oh, I'm sorry.
okay.
I've sat in on many of the. So it's good there. And so I've heard all that, but there was something very interesting at the Transit Committee meeting that happened in the last week in June in Sammamish. They did, studies on aging and the Sammamish makeup of age groups. And I'll leave a copy of this for you guys. I took a picture of it online. And it's interesting that in 2000, Sammamish was made up of about I forgot to say, my name, Paul Stickney. Sorry. Sammamish, I don't come to talk to you guys too often. I do usually the city council and, and the planning commission. Anyway, in the year 2000, Sammamish had about 3.6% over 65. And by 2020, that had grown to about 7.9%. But what caught my attention on the slide that was up there was a pretty big ridge and wave or, bulge that was moving from the 35 to 39 to 60 to 64 range. That makes up 47% of our city. And it would be very interesting to find out what that was in the year 2000 and 2010 to see if there's a aging trend or has that percentage stayed the same, because it would help to plan for senior needs over life. So the the summary numbers were from 0 to 19 years old had 31% as of 2021 in Sammamish. 20 to 34 was 12%. 35 to 64 was 47%. And 65 and over was 8. So I'll leave a copy of this slide and suggest you guys watch that transit because they had a lot of, demographic data to guide transit that I think would help you. So I'll leave some copies with the chair and you can hand these out.
Thank you.
I will share.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, you guys. Have a good meeting. I volunteer. See you later.
Okay,
Have a good one.
thank you. Is there anyone else, Mike, online or no? Okay. Okay, so next up, we're going to get an update on the senior programming at Beaver Lake Lodge from the Indian American Community Services. So we have Lalita, the Executive Director, Nanda, the Senior Services Coordinator, and Marta, the Senior Services Cultural Navigator. Thank you for joining us today. And I understand you have a PowerPoint presentation and a video.
Yes,
Okay,
we do, Chair. Thank you so much for inviting us to this space. And we are looking forward to sharing a few precious moments with you. As I mentioned, Lalita Uppala, go by she, her, Executive Director for Indian American Community Services. I'd like to also pass this on to our Senior Services Coordinator, Nanda.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nanda Tiwari, and I am the Senior Services Coordinator for IACS. And I oversee the senior programming in about 7 pop-up centers around the city, which includes Redmond, Bellevue, Sammamish, Bothell, Kent, Issaquah, Mount Si. And I can pass it on to Marta.
I'm Marta Osborne, and I act as a cultural navigator. I found out today, but what my job, how that is implemented is through my job at the welcome desk, and I help new people get on board with the program, show them how to register, talk to people about different issues or concerns that they may have about the program. And generally, I really have a lot of fun. Lovely, lovely group of people.
Thank you, Marta. So if I may, we would like to share a short video with you. Thank you, Rita.
Yep, just give us one moment. Yeah, we're going to have to turn around. Unfortunately, everyone, we don't have our individual screens. So just give us a moment. And that's the YouTube. Okay, yeah, it's going to take a minute or so. So apologies. Video, the YouTube one, yeah.
sorry, Rita. Thank you. So we will increase the signage around the libraries as well as the markets and the YMCA particularly. So seniors remember that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, there's an opportunity for them to show up at Beaver Lake Lodge and enjoy programming. If we can move to the next slide. Oh, do we have a question? Yes. So we just had a good conversation with Sunrise Living and with Silver, I think we had the name. Today I met them, the second facility, and we are going to do a tour of that senior living facility, sit down and have a conversation with them on how we can encourage them to come be a part of the program, to maybe come and do some presentations, which will also encourage them to bring maybe a van of seniors over. We may go, and we've had conversations about going there and doing a small pilot for an hour to show them what happens in Beaver Lake Lodge. That way seniors can make up their decision for themselves. Any other questions on outreach?
Yeah, I got one.
I just
go
want to
ahead.
add that we have been in conversation with the activities director at Providence Point. And, I'm trying to, we haven't reached a conclusion yet. The conversation has been on the email thread, but we are trying to get a bus from Providence Point, which can bring the seniors to the Beaver Lake Lodge, as the transportation is a big challenge for the seniors.
Yeah, that was my question is, how's transportation working out, trying to get the seniors?
Right. And we've had a presentation from Eastside Friends of Seniors. They have come and done some signups. We've done a presentation from Orca, as well as talked about access. We again are continuing to receive some challenges for our seniors where they feel like access bus does take a long time there's a long wait to pick them up, and they have to leave much earlier than the program gets done. So it's been a challenge with access, of course. With Eastside Friends of Seniors, we've also tried to encourage individuals and communities to sign up as volunteers, because they are very dependent on volunteers to come in as drivers. And that has, I think the last conversation was that they would like to come back again and have another presentation, right, Nanda?
Yeah. So, so we've been again talking to Eastside Friends of Seniors, and the partnership is going well between us in terms of conversation, but unfortunately they are very short on the volunteer drivers.
Right.
So people are still facing challenges trying to book rides for themselves. We also had Metroflex over, and they said they would get back to us. They did say that they had challenges too, and they were developing, I think they are trying to establish a newer program. And so transportation is a big challenge, although we do give the options of, we made our seniors sign up with the Eastside Friends of Seniors. And I just want them to come back again and, reassure the seniors, because they have been telling us that we signed up, but we are still not getting the transportation.
And meanwhile, we've of course also been trying the buddy program, which is if you live in the same neighborhood as somebody who's driving, how can we best connect you to seniors in that neighborhood? So you don't have to wait for that transportation, but you can try the buddy system of carpooling and coming. So that's one thing that has been reasonably successful, I think. But I would love to see more. I know that we have the Redmond Rapid Ride in Redmond that's very successful. There's the Sound Generations Rides for Smiles that works for Redmond, Bellevue, and Kirkland that has been very successful. So we have also reached out to Sound Generations to see if there's any opportunity to collaborate for Sammamish. If we can go to the next slide, thank you. So just a little reminder on what are we doing in Beaver Lake Lodge, thanks to the city of Sammamish. With the fitness program, which is really the center, IACS programs are centered on wellness. and gives an opportunity to seniors to come in and experience yoga and Tai Chi and strength training. We've brought in some individualized mindfulness workshops from some of our instructors who are certified in meditative mindfulness. We did get, based on our last survey, the Q2 survey, which I will share the results with too, attendees did respond that it does get warm, and that with the exercise and fitness session, and that's why we've also given instructors some instruction to offer the opportunity for seniors to step out of the room if they're feeling uncomfortable. We did get some feedback from seniors that not everybody may want to attend the fitness session and should have the opportunity to do other activities. So what we are going to do is in the summertime, we'll set up a table outside with some board games, and seniors are welcome to read a book or just sit at the table if they choose not to participate in the fitness session and then come back in later. If we can move to the next slide. Our meal program is going well. We've started contracting with area small businesses, particularly based in Sammamish. And the sandwich bar is great for us seniors, particularly for our immigrant seniors. It helps because they learn to make their own sandwich, something they didn't do in their own country, and they learn not to depend on their adult children. And that was a statement many of them, I think, made that, oh, I learned how to make my own sandwich. And they think that's so great. For our non-immigrant seniors, it offers opportunity for food that is familiar and is not necessarily from a different culture. So sandwich and soup has been great for us. It also, we believe, adds to wellness because you get the opportunity to feel food that you're creating for yourself. It's another way of really mindfully eating, which is so important. Wednesdays with our Indian meal, we are now having a conversation with the Northwest Share, which is a nonprofit, and is willing to do vegetarian meals. So they're going to come in and do that. And Fridays are either Mexican or pizza. So we try to collaborate. We've also had a conversation just today with the Middle Eastern catering company to see if they would bring in the food truck once a month, an opportunity with Chinese food for once a month. So we're thinking we'll, add in more explorations in the culinary world there for our seniors. However, storage is definitely a challenge for us. We cannot store a whole lot of food there. I think we have to empty the refrigerators by Friday. So our staff does have to go in, buy fruit individually, buy milk and coffee, tea products. So all of that takes space, as well as the activities material. So storage is definitely a challenge for us at Beaver Lake. If we can move to the next slide. That's a quick picture in terms of the activities. 10:30 to 11:30, they have the fitness session. 11:30 to 12:30 is their activity time, and it extends oftentimes after lunch if they choose to continue, or they can have conversation after lunch. But what's amazing is we've had a master gardener who's come there. We had nature journaling yesterday where they were able to, where they were able to walk out, go for a walk, take a picture of something that caught their eye, come back and work on their art project for that. So very diverse group of activities there. Our seniors in their feedback have said they love the doc talks. They love to know more about their own health and wellness. They'd like to see more doc talks happening. They would like to see a lot more of art. Bingo is a hot topic for them. They love bingo. So there's quite a few activities that they have focused on and enjoy. We did start the traveling armchair because one of our colleagues in Carnation, I think Senior Center has that. Didn't take off as well as we had hoped. So sometimes we do well, sometimes we don't. If we can go to the next slide. Go ahead. And do you mean by field trips, maybe to those? Right, yeah, just even just go walk around Beaver Lake. Yes. So they started that today, which was great that they were able to go out for a walk, take a picture of something that caught their eye. When they came back, they actually had an art instructor who worked with them to do art journaling with basically that. It's called nature journaling, I believe. So yes, we've done that, but we also quite tempted to take them on a field trip. We haven't yet worked on that.
And we have done walks. We do after lunch, because a lot of seniors like to leave after lunch, but some of them like to stay. So some of our volunteers have walked with them up to the lake, and just it's a nice opportunity to have conversation while walking too. So it is always on the agenda. We always ask, if you want to walk, we can come walk with you.
Yeah, and with resources and with the work that Marta and some of our cultural navigators bring in for seniors, we've also explored digital literacy, and we are kicking off. We have an intern who is going to start off the digital literacy desk for seniors to provide. We've had that request from seniors that they would like that desk to be there 3 days of the week. So we are going to make that happen. There's some workshops we're exploring about bringing in with the emergency services, the potential of doing a first aid workshop twice a year with the option of CPR, not necessarily always. But bringing in AARP and Sheba particularly with health insurance, considering that there are changes coming up in Washington state. We also have the Department of Health working with us in providing COVID clinics as well as flu shots. We all know how difficult it is to get that shingles shot. So we're trying to get that in Beaver Lake Lodge. So we're hoping that by bringing all of this to Beaver Lake and to Sammamish, that the seniors in Sammamish will really feel like they're supported. If we can go to the next, I think we can take some time on this one. So we did a survey. Was it the last week of June, Nanda, that we did? We did a survey. We had an overall, I would say we have had a unique individual attendee list was 87 people, but on an average, we've had 55 come in each week. And our feedback survey that was submitted by 48 different individuals. 95% of the participants agreed that they would recommend the program to friends and acquaintances. And 95% of them agreed that they love the fitness, art, and meals. Of course, within that, they had some specifics that they rated also. Art rated very high on the activities. Tai Chi and strength training rated high on the fitness. And Indian meal rated highest on the meals, particularly wanting vegetarian meals. And there were a couple of feedbacks with challenges around fitness activity, particularly around yoga and the use of religious terms. And we had the opportunity to explain that the Om word that is used in yoga is really universally used to center you to wellness. And instructors have been asked to offer that as an opportunity to seniors to refrain from using it, or to use a word that they prefer to use to just center themselves. There's been some feedback that we should not be putting non-vegetarian food, as we call it in the Indian community, meaning meat. And that particularly came in from a non-Indian Asian attendee who was concerned that the immigrant seniors that are present in the program may find it difficult to eat their food around meat. We did have a conversation with our seniors, and our seniors are all very comfortable to be eating around meat. So we are going to keep the meat. Some of this is not knowing or not understanding what different cultures may have. And so we're thinking we can continue the show and tell and share and tell, which is an activity we do post lunch sometimes, where our seniors will have opportunity to share about their favorite cultural traditions, and maybe that will spark off a discussion that can promote understanding about each other's cultures too. So if we can go to the next slide, and I can be open for questions. of course, from all of you. And please know that Nanda, Marta, and I, all three of us can answer your questions. Don't want to take all that time.
So thank you. Did you say that's the end of your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. Very informative. And I know some people have already started up with questions. I guess I'll open it up to other commissioners who might have questions.
Quick question. I saw an activity that was called, I think, Wisdom Cafe.
Yes,
What is that? It sounds really great.
it is. Would you like to talk about Wisdom Cafe?
So this is being run by the Sammamish Library. Is she the librarian? Yeah. So as Latina, she's the librarian, and she's been doing this for a while. I think she was doing with the Sammamish seniors for 3 years, and then it came to the Beaver Lake Lodge, and she brings up these. She decides on some questions which are really, really interesting. And she puts those questions, and the seniors, they all sit together and everybody just gives answers or their opinions to those questions. And Marta can maybe add
Maybe
to
an
it because,
example of
yeah.
what those questions are?
Well, I remember one thing in particular because I learned something at this. And on the topic of language, I didn't realize that people in at least 3 formal there, and then other people joined in. It was just fascinating.
And yeah, it's questions like, how has technology changed your life? So we just get some very interesting answers. And what is the best, I think, compliment that you ever got, or something nice that somebody said to you? And
a little known fact is that this particular librarian has now moved her place of work to, I think, Fairwood.
Fairwood.
And we made a request to KCLS that this Wisdom Cafe in Sammamish continue, and made a very strong argument for having her continue this Wisdom Cafe, and that was agreed upon. She is going to continue to do the Wisdom Cafe and has reassured me that when and if she does leave, she will make sure there's a replacement for Wisdom Cafe, because it is one of our most popular programs. I think most popular community conversation. What I love about Wisdom Cafe is it opens an opportunity to have different views and reflections come in, which also connects seniors from different communities to each other.
Kind of interesting that she's from Bulgaria. That's her native language. And of course, she had to learn languages around her. She came to this country without any English. Used to be an attorney back in Bulgaria. She didn't want to become an attorney over here, so she went through the library school, and she's been absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
And she will be leading, at least in August, for sure.
Yeah.
Latina.
Yes.
Maybe just to ask, you may have mentioned this, so are these small table discussions, or and why does it seem to have particularly connected with seniors, do you think?
I think the one reason is it has had a following in the past with the Sammamish Friends of Seniors. And our current immigrant group of seniors really love the topics that she brings to the floor. And it is, I mean, I would say it's more of a roundtable kind of a conversation that she runs. But definitely it's the choice of topics she brings and how she moderates those conversations. So there's enough talk time for everyone.
I have 2 questions for staff, and I'm sorry my back is to you. my first question would be, I know Beaver Lake has limited space, but is there any way the city may accommodate some storage in the back? Not for food, because obviously food's going to expire and you
Right.
don't want to,
Right.
but there's arts and crafts projects,
Mhm.
there's the games, there's the
Mhm.
cards.
Mhm.
There are things that can be stored versus you guys having to cart them back and forth.
Right.
So Commissioner Gunnar, I know there's very limited storage there. And I think this is definitely something that we'd have to take up with our Parks and Recreation Department to see if there's any leeway there. I know that that's also rented out like in between and in the evenings and at the weekends. But yes, that's something that we'll definitely revisit. And we have check-ins internally once a month with the Parks and Recreation Department. So we can definitely bring that up.
Yeah, I kind of recall a room,
Mhm.
the kitchen's over here, but there's a room over to the left
Yes.
that I
That's the
think
room.
could accommodate some.
So because the lodge is rented out in the evenings and the weekends, we cannot leave. And the room on the left has all the chairs stored in there. And the room behind the kitchen has all the tables. So those rooms are accessible to the people who rent the lodge for their private events. And we have been given 2 shelves above those tables in that room where we store our supplies and all the paper supplies and everything. And at times, and I don't think people have intended to steal, but at times we found our stuff missing because probably people who rent the lodge think that it's okay to rummage through the bags and find if they need something. So it has been a bit unsettling to store stuff. So most of the staff has trunks that are completely full of supplies that they carry back and forth.
So my question would be, since we meet with Parks and Recreation, maybe find a way to, that shelf unit, to put some covers on it and secure it?
And also if we could request the lower of the shelf units, so we don't have
So you don't have to
to.
go over your head so high. That makes sense.
Yeah, we have to use steps to climb up and carry those heavy bags. So. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to, we want to stick with the step stools. Yes.
So then my second question would be, Beaver Lake Lodge is not air conditioned?
No.
That's correct. They did an evaluation and it's not air conditioned. And I think the electricity doesn't allow air conditioning. I do know that the Parks and Rec team brought in some fans in. I'm not sure quite, I haven't got any feedback from IACS on how that's working out.
Double check, because I don't think the fans were brought in.
Okay, Nanda, did you not?
We haven't received any fans yet.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to follow up then with Parks and Rec
And
as we speak.
there's
yeah.
been some hot days. And
Okay.
you know it's going to get hotter. So I have to compliment you on your video because I was in a couple shots and Joyce was in a couple shots. Sally was like, she was there all the time. I went to the first event and unfortunately my honeydew list at the house has kind of taken priority on everything. I do intend to come back again, but it was very enjoyable. Full room. I was there on the first event, but you do a great job at the front desk. Well, and just directing people and being able to welcome them and what can we do for you kind of attitude is really a payoff.
Well, thanks. I really love it's so easy.
Well, thank you.
My question, was for you, Marta, and that you're like a services coordinator. Are people reaching out to you and asking to be connected to services and?
Asking for help with our registry. They have asked me other information and I point them in, you know.
Mhm. Yeah,
and I
that's
think
an
those
important part of the services.
I think those questions that Marta gets asked or Nanda gets asked or our team gets asked because our team spends that time during lunch sitting with our seniors. So I think the questions that we get is the harvest that we then inform into the programming that we bring in. For example, that's why AARP is being asked to come in, or Sheba is being asked to come in, or we've increased the number of doc talks we are bringing to the program because they want to know more about cardiac disease. And, one of our seniors recently lost her adult child to cardiac disease. And it's very much an epidemic that's happening in the South Asian community, particularly. And cardiac arrests among 40 to 45-year-olds are becoming more and more prevalent. And so there's a big education factor to do for community around that. But on the other hand, in general, flu shots and COVID shots and why COVID shots, all of those education pieces are also being asked. I think the other popular ask was for mental health, the community conversation that's led by our mental health therapist. Yes. Yes.
Go ahead, Rich, and then I'll
Go
go.
ahead.
How would somebody volunteer to do a workshop? For example, I do a workshop on like safety and, how would somebody who, hey, they've got to do a special workshop, how would they volunteer to, provide one to?
Right. So if you, we have a Facebook page. We also have a page on our website. And then we have the contact email and phone number on our brochures. It's basically about contacting that individual and letting them know that you have a workshop to offer. But since you mentioned, we are going to follow up with you on that.
No, that's great. I'm sure there's lots of other people who'd love to do
Right.
workshops.
Absolutely. And then we could do a post, which is a recurring post on social media saying we are looking for workshops.
So my question would be that I forgot.
If I could ask then,
Go ahead.
so you mentioned, and I'm sorry, you may have mentioned as I was also watching the video and listening, but doc talks are those actually by medical physicians and, maybe just to quantify that a little bit, I guess I just
Right.
have a little bit of pause about offering medical advice.
Absolutely. So our doc talks are mostly informational conversation. For example, if you take diabetes, you'll have an endocrinologist who will come and talk to you about what is diabetes and how does it happen? What are the stats around it? What are some approaches that healthcare providers take? But it's always accompanied with a disclaimer that this is informational, not a prescription, not a requirement, and that if you have any other questions specific to yourself, you need to go talk to your own personal medical provider.
Okay, I remember. I'll be quick. With the doc talks and doctors coming in, have you had a chance, since you're discussing heart disease, to do blood pressure screenings for people?
Yes, we have. And actually, we have had that conversation with Overlake Hospital about potentially coming in the fall and doing one blood pressure clinic.
I think that'd be really beneficial, being somebody has high blood pressure.
Right, right.
Other questions? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, is there something that you've mentioned, like said, maybe lower shelves and stuff like that. Is there something you would like to ask the commission that we can help you?
All I can say is thank you for the funding and thank you for the human services funding, because we have had to rely on all of that. We have 4 staff members who are at 15 to 20 hours a week to man this team. plus the budget that we set aside for the meals. So we definitely go over the funded amount for managing the 3 days a week programming that we do, and which is where the Sammamish Human Services funding for cultural navigation and human services does kick in to provide us some support from the back end. So I think that is the biggest part right now, is to be able to sustain this and hopefully to reach out to King County for additional support. And I will keep Rita updated on that, of course. But definitely, if there's anything that can be done in providing storage, so our staff does not have to constantly lift up these big bags, I worry about worker health safety. So that's my biggest concern.
So I have a question. You do programming in several other communities in the area. Have you found anything unique to Sammamish or anything like, specific to this area that has stood out?
Are you saying because of the programming we have, or due to or for the city?
The population, anything really, like is there anything different about this program than what you've seen in other-
Absolutely. I mean, I think each of us can answer to that. But having done these different pop-up centers and the fact that we go in once a week to some, we go twice a month to some, once a month, I think having 3 days a week is so critical. There's such a huge need, because 3 days a week has catapulted the seniors that attend this program to bridge their gaps, to identify each other as connected to Sammamish as a community, and built such great relationships and rapport that I think, took more than 2 or 3 years in some of our centers to accomplish. So I think the fast pace that we were able to bridge gaps, the fact that we are there 3 days a week, that families can rely on a program, that they can drop off their aging parent or that spouse that you can bring from a dementia assisted living center to enjoy some one-on-one time with that spouse as well as with that community. I think the city of Sammamish has done a fantastic job in offering 3 days a week. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, that's good to hear.
People have developed real friendships, you can tell. I mean, it's partly by the noise level, but also just they greet each other, hug each other. It really is lovely to see.
And that was my question. I appreciate the stats and survey and stuff, but just kind of the heart of just, of course, individuals not, wanting to do anything with their confidentiality, but what has kind of touched your heart of what you have seen or what's been reported to you from, adult children or spouses, or that you have seen yourself?
And that you want, and then I can take that.
So I think the recent example, we were off for 1 week for the first time ever since we started. And after 1 week, a lot of the seniors walked in and said, we missed this so much. We missed seeing you all. So I think that is very touching. And the other thing, like Marta mentioned, we see these seniors from different communities. They come, they hug each other. Sometimes there are language barriers, but they still sit together and play cards and, teach each other crochet and knitting. So that is all very heartwarming for us to see.
So a story that comes to me is we have a family who has been visiting our senior program, a senior couple, for the last 6 years. And they used to come to Bellevue, and they are from Sammamish, and they have lost a child, an adult child, to bipolar. And they have a second daughter who's going through that. And that father has had to bring that child home. And because he is coming 3 days a week to Sammamish, the level of trust that has built since March to now, it is just that the fact that he can reach out to our team and divulge details that he was so ashamed to talk about and seek help from us in terms of whether it's estate planning to set up a trust fund to create boundaries, or for self-care for himself and his wife. The fact that he's terrified that his adult child will come and kill him in the middle of the night, and he needs to know what to do those conversations did not come to us for the last 6, 7 years. They came to us now. And the only difference is because 3 days a week, we are at Beaver Lake Lodge, and we are there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for families, and that builds a level of trust that nothing else does.
So can I, Marta, this is kind of directed toward you since you do the intake and registration. I heard that you're trying to get Providence Point included.
Mhm.
There is Issaquah.
Mhm.
What kind of attendance do we have from our sister cities? And if there is a big attendance from the sister cities or a percentage, have you guys reached out to them and said, look, we got this program, we need some to help us with funding?
Go ahead, Marta.
We were questioned and did have a few days where, sorry, over time where we kind of were really checking where people were coming from. And it really does turn out that most of the people do come from Sammamish. Some other people do come from Issaquah, and
What's a
couple from
typical
London.
number?
Oh, out of a day, maybe 5 to 6 people at the most from outside of Sammamish. But
Mhm.
not that I had discussed this because but I really think this is such a great program. We should be trying to get people from outside, in part because of the possible funding, if we could do that, although I don't know how we would accommodate everyone.
Yeah, the space isn't large enough.
Yeah.
I would say 85 to 90% of the attendees are from Sammamish.
Have you, I was part of getting a levy in place for veterans and human services and seniors. Have you hit up King County on getting a grant for the seniors?
Their RFP is going to come out in the fall, and we will definitely be applying for that RFP. So we will definitely include the Sammamish program in that too.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
It said, sorry, the survey said some segment of people are not happy.
So it was one particular feedback that we got out of 48 people. And that was, as I mentioned, one was that we make sure the meals are vegetarian for seniors, particularly from other communities, to be friendly to them. The second was to give attendees the opportunity to step out of a fitness program if they choose not to participate in it, and to have a table set aside for them. The third was the use of the word Om. And when you do this, when you salute with both hands together for yoga, and we did explain to that individual that that is actually the acupressure points that calms you and calms your central nervous system. And the use of the Om is really to center you, and that there's the instructor is going to start offering options for seniors to use other words if they choose not to use that word. We're still looking for a Mahjong instructor. We almost thought we got one, but we didn't quite. So we have general card games. Nanda, do you want to elaborate on what those are?
Yeah, so I think the very popular game, and I don't know if people play it here, but people do play in India, and we got Don hooked to it too. It's called Rummy. And so everybody wants to play Rummy, and there are at least 2 tables full of 7 to 8 people who play Rummy. But we also have had some interest in bridge. So if people are interested, we have somebody who can teach bridge and play also. So those are the 2 games in particular. But we do have other board games like Rummy Cube and Scrabble. I think people love Scrabble too. So
yeah, I think Mondays are all about card games.
Yeah.
So Monday, the card tables are out, but there's the option for those who would prefer to do knitting or crochet to then step out and do the knitting or crochet. But we do see that card games have a lot of interest. And we are looking at Mahjong to particularly also make it approachable for our Asian community to participate in the programming.
Well, I have to commend you on your taking feedback. I feel like you're very open to ideas from the participants and willing to try things.
Right.
So I think that, I think keeps people very interested, and I have to commend you for taking all that feedback.
Thank you. Well, we do want to be open to feedback, and we know that we're not perfect. And I always tell my team that I'm the one who, I never remember the right time or the right hour. I change meeting times and meeting dates, and that I'm not perfect. And it's okay to make errors because they're not intentional, as long as we can rectify those. And so we're really open to feedback and to improving and doing better and building more bridges, because I think in the end, we want to have a connected, thriving community. So thank you for listening.
I would say as well, part of what attracted me to your program was, as we did evaluations, was your willingness to do a very quick startup and then expertise and some specificity. And I think kind of seeing that a few months down the road that you started up in March, I think is very commendable. And then your responsiveness to participants is great. So thank you for that. I would ask if you know, or do you have somewhat of an ethnic breakdown? Do you have somewhat of an idea of who is coming? You're doing cultural discussions and stuff, but do you know somewhat what the ethnic breakdown is?
Absolutely, we do. I mean, I would say 70% of our participants are of South Asian origin, and we do have some European. We have some of our Caucasian, as we Indians call it, American attendees. But our goal really is to continue to do outreach and offer it at, today we had a couple in the farmer's market, a Russian couple who came up to us and asked us if they could bring his dad to the program, if there was a Russian interpreter or Russian individual who would be friends with the community, with his dad. And our response was, we don't have Russian interpreter, but what they can do is, if they have friends and their friends' parents are willing to come, then to bring their friends' parents with them. And we did reach out to Joyce and said, hey, do you know somebody who speaks Russian? And there was Margaret. So we did find somebody who spoke Russian, and we're reaching out to them to come back and meet Margaret. So like I said to one of our seniors who mentioned that there was a need for diversity, that it takes time, and to give us time and grace in that.
Yeah, I think we have to remember you're only, 4 months into it. And so it's a lot of learning going on, and but making connections and using connections, like
Yes,
trying to find someone to accommodate, I think.
absolutely.
I did have another question. I'd forgotten it earlier. Is it, don't people have to make a, sign up?
Yes.
Okay.
There is a registration system. And I do have to say that we've been using Eventbrite till now, but Marta is now exploring the option of moving into an easier system of registration. Typically, we've had in our other pop-ups, we use WhatsApp. We put a link in that WhatsApp. It's very easy, but not all seniors and not all communities are WhatsApp friendly.
Right.
So we just want to be cognizant of that. And I think, Marta, you are looking into that system.
I am. I will be looking into it when I finish my move, hopefully this week or sometime, but I am starting, and we will make sure when we implement it, it'll be a clean implementation.
And I think once we identify what those systems are, it would be worth it for us to offer it to our seniors as a pilot before we move make the shift, so that we don't assume that that's easy, but we really take our seniors' opinion into account before we make that shift.
Is registration all online, or do you have the opportunity for people to call or
Yeah.
register another way?
So we have about 80% of our seats are on Eventbrite registration, but we do take walk-ins. And Nanda is always welcoming people to walk in to try the program and then go back in and register.
And if people have issues registering online, we do help them if they walk in to register for upcoming sessions.
There are 5 people that I register for every week.
Okay.
Because,
And we do have a QR codes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I was wondering how that worked.
what me, yeah, actually it is. It's working very well.
Yeah,
That made a big difference in
Yeah.
bringing our registration numbers up and then making it
I'll be your-
unavailable to other
Your
people.
next best friend here. I'm going to try it.
Good, good. Yep. Yes,
By date.
by date, yeah.
Yeah.
Your lunch.
And
It's a suggested
suggested
donation. We never force people, but most people have been, I would say,
Most
the
people assume
majority,
that they will pay.
they do pay. And the Eventbrite registration, we have a link for the whole month and all the dates are listed. So there's a pull down menu. So people can register for all the sessions in one sitting, or they can register week by week.
Do you have people who register that don't show up? Like what's the
Yeah,
biggest
that
cancellation or?
Yeah, it kind of has been balancing out. There are people who register and they don't show up, and there are people who don't register and they do walk in. So I think we have balanced out to an average of about 50 to 55 people.
Today
Every-
was the perfect storm, though. Almost everybody showed up, and then there were a whole bunch of people who showed up to walk in, so.
But we could
But,
accommodate
yeah,
all
we
of
did.
them. Yeah.
It was great.
The room's kind of small, but even, I think the capacity is 75. But I think that's a joke trying to stick some.
Yeah.
Not for
I think for,
exercise, it would
yeah,
be
for
terrible, no.
eating maybe, but when they stretch their arms, we don't want them hitting each other. So, yeah.
This, hitting the leg. Wasn't on purpose.
A very friendly, welcoming place.
I enjoyed it.
I'm talking about Tai Chi and all the other kind of things. Well, you definitely need art journey.
And don't forget to register.
Yeah, exactly. Please register.
I was in Walker the last time.
Okay, any other questions for our guests? Any other comments or anything that we didn't touch on that, or requests or anything?
Thank you. Thank you for listening. And I think we'll be back again in January, maybe if we may. I'm not assuming that we can be back, but just checking in. We could give you then maybe a year into focus, and that would be good to share some of the data and some more thoughts by then, and see what people think about the different activities at that point.
Thank you. We would love to have you.
Sure.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, all right. It's next up is staff report, or do you need a refreshment? No, okay. Okay.
Right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. So staff report. I'm going to apologize because I was out for 2 weeks on vacation. So it's a very short staff report. Let's see. So I met with the other cities and the Eastside Refugee and Immigrant Coalition to discuss Welcoming Week. Welcoming Week always happens every second week of September. And we sign a proclamation along with the cities of Bellevue, Issaquah, Redmond, and Kirkland. And we're just trying to like brainstorm to figure out what activities that we can promote at the city during that, the second week of September. So we're just in like planning mode there. We have second quarter reporting coming up, so I'm going to be busy processing that in the next week. And we had a monitoring visit at Eastside Friends of Seniors. And we had and I think IACS talked to this. We had a conversation about how we can get more Sammamish residents served, because they overwhelmingly serve Issaquah residents over Sammamish, even though they're based in Sammamish. And we do fund them at quite a high level. So we really, and they have a new executive director. And it's great because I think she has a great energy and she has new ideas and is very open and receptive. So we were brainstorming as to how we can get more service units within Sammamish. But again, she did talk to the lack of volunteers and needing more volunteers. So, perhaps as a city, we might be promoting that to see if residents can come and be volunteer drivers. I think you must have all received the newsletter. It was a very, I know it talked a lot about the town centre, but on the last page, we had our very own Zachary, the councillor that we fund at CrossPath. And so I will follow up with CrossPath because I'm curious as to whether they've had an increase in requests. So for the next meeting, I'll definitely circle back there. And in the next newsletter, we are fortunate. We're trying to see if there's space that we'll try and promote a nonprofit. So we'll be talking with Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank. And there's going to be two parts to this story. There'll be a feature in the newsletter, one to show residents how to access services if they don't know how to access it. But we also know that there are residents in Sammamish that maybe don't need their services. So we're also promoting the Green Bag Project, which is where a neighborhood coordinator, every other month, will work with 5 to 10 neighbors and collect food and then drop it off at Issaquah Food and Clothing Bank. So we're excited about getting that promoted in the next newsletter. And that is it. Any questions? Oh, and very quickly, August we have off. And then in September we'll have a meeting. The plan is that we will have a little trip somewhere, and I'm hoping that we can get to go to the Together Center. And I'm also going to propose with my peers, we normally have a joint meeting, and I thought perhaps, and again this is very, very preliminary, that we can go with the other cities, the other 4 cities, and tour the Together Center. And the Together Center has lots of different nonprofits, and maybe they can all be there and we can kind of see them in one full swoop and see the Together Center in action. So wait to hear from me. So hopefully we'll have a trip in September. Any questions?
Just one, I saw the rehab issue or meeting. You have people set up for that yet?
I'm sorry, no, I do not. That is, I have some ideas, but yeah, I haven't that's for October. Is that October?
I think, yeah, it's October.
Oh, no, yeah, it's October, yeah. So yeah, I have some ideas, but I'm happy to talk with you, Commissioner Gunner, if you have some suggestions. That would be lovely. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Just one.
Thank you.
Never apologize for taking vacation, okay? We're glad you did that.
Thank you.
Yeah, permanent vacation. What are you talking about?
Now you're filling it up with, guess what? Handyman work. What did you retire from? Exactly.
Okay, thank you, Rita. Commissioner reports. Anybody have any reports?
Like I said, my Phil, it was a very good experience there with the lodge.
At the lodge, yeah.
Problem is the smallness, the storage. the temperature. And the acoustics are terrible. It needs carpeting. We could do better here, I think.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Sorry, how do we serve our seniors well? Are there other options? And
It was offered last year.
Here.
Are you talking about council chambers? Okay. So I don't have an answer to that off the top of my head. Maybe at the next meeting we can circle back.
I'll just note that the Parks and Recreation Department did do a presentation to the city council prior to selecting a location and kind of looked at the pros and cons of the various city facilities. Ultimately, the council decided on the Beaver Lake Lodge as the preferred alternative. So perhaps we could pull that agenda bill and presentation because it provides a little bit of background on the analysis that went into choosing that site.
The lodge is beautiful. Top is transportation.
Yeah, transportation is difficult.
Won't go there. And this lady who has the companion dog, who has the scooter, he would have to be dropped off 3 blocks from the lodge, just because.
I think they mentioned that, right? The Flex Transit was having issues and they were readdressing them. And yeah. I think you said it's out right outside the boundary or something and they went, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Is there any wiggle room on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, when we had the city open house 2 weeks ago, and one of the, talking with Doug and Rachel, hey, this is a problem. What can we do? It's like, talking to Metro. Keep seeing if we can expand, keep, be like Redmond, be like North Bend. This is on the bus line here, guys. But the lodge is beautiful.
beautiful.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Sammamish plays a big hunk as compared to a lot of our sister cities. So we should get better
Right,
service.
Yeah, we should get better service. Okay, any other commissioner reports or updates? Okay, that is all on our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, staff.
And then Rich can go get his
Everyone
sandbags.
go, look, look at the farmers markets,
go.
like, look.
Don't